Hi, my name is Ptolemy Pruden. Welcome to this edition of the Common Sense Defense Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about AUKUS as it relates to hypersonics and hypersonics. So it's going to be a very fun session today. So AUKUS is the Australian, United Kingdom, United States treaty alliance group of people working to leverage our national security technology and intelligence infrastructure and nuclear capabilities as relates to conventional platforms like submarines, not weapons, with each other to leverage our deterrent capability against China and China's expansion into the Indo-Pacific and more precisely in the South China Sea. So, what does AUKUS have to do with hypersonics? Pretty much everything. So let's look at hypersonics. Let's look at hypersonics as an entity is a weapon. Hypersonics is a technology or a capability for any platform that is going above Mach 5. So you have subsonic, you have supersonic, then you have hypersonic. And so when a platform is going through air, it starts to heat very, very hot and very much. And what happens is about a Mach 5, Mach 6, you start getting a plasma wave around it. And plasma is a superheated gas that you can't get radio signals in or out of. And so as that temperature increases, it's more difficult to get that. Now, you can track platforms that are going high Mach speeds by looking at their infrared signature. And also you can, in some cases, you can track them using radar. There's some components that at the higher speed that platforms go, radars can't penetrate the plasma wave to give you a specific fix on the target. But that's getting into theoretics. I'm not going to be dealing with that right now today. So let's look at Australia. So the Australian Royal Australian Air Force has collaborated with the United States for hypersonic development, and that's gone back way back in the old days, probably 2007, 2008, for our joint capabilities for hypersonic research, and now we have developed weapon systems that will be rolling out in the next few years that they are basically the son of those efforts. And when you have hypersonic weapon systems that are developed by multiple countries, then they both can share in those joint capabilities. And amazingly, when we have like worked with the Australians from their Woomera research facility there in South Australia, excuse me, um, we are in a situation where we have to leverage our capabilities that we're working together on. Now, what's going on over the last decade and a half has been quiet, top secret, but now we're in a situation where those capabilities are coming forth and we need those. So Australia has been very integral to that. And this is even before AUKUS, and as a result of September the 15th, 2021. Even before the initial AUKUS deal, we were on deep secret missions or training and development of process and research and development long before AUKUS ever came online. So now it's just a natural processes that we're currently on to work and merge more closely with Australia to make sure that our systems and our processes are all working together. Now, the Chinese have developed hypersonic missiles. The Russians have developed hypersonic. Let's look at the Chinese system first. There's the DF-21D. There's the DF-26. The Dofeng 26. There is the Russian Kinzhal. The Russians have two or three high speed hypersonic platforms, as do the Chinese. And so, how do you replicate these capabilities? How do you defeat these capabilities? So I think that about 3 or 4 years ago, we were caught in a sense flat-footed because we did not have any hypersonic platforms out there to counter China's DF-21D or DF-26, and it made it look really bad. And what ended up happening, everyone was scrambling and still is kind of scrambling, trying to produce a hypersonic strike capability. And so now we're kind of cracking the code, and in another year or two we'll have some platforms coming out. But the reality is, let's do you really need to fear hypersonic weapons. Well, let's see, what can they do? So hypersonic weapon is flying. It launches like from a ballistic missile platform, and then it doesn't take the full arc like a ballistic missile. Ballistic missile goes up, straight up, a couple hundred, 200 or 300 miles, and comes straight down. But what the hypersonic missile does is it goes up and it detaches from the ballistic missile, and it goes on a flat trajectory, and it does S patterns, all kind of funky patterns, so that it can get to its target, and it's going at a high rate of speed, Mach 5, Mach 10, and it's hard to track because it's going at about 60 miles altitude. It's not going on a predictable ballistic trajectory, and it's hard to track those platforms, at least it was. So it makes it hard to develop a fire solution or anti-missile solution on it. But you always have to remember, and this was proven out last year, and I'll make a note about this, that what goes up has got to come down. When it comes down, and every S turn that it makes as it heads towards its target, each one slows it down a little bit. Last year, the Russians used the Kinzhal surface-to-surface missile, and as the Kinzhal was coming down to hit, coming down, it was intercepted by a Patriot PAC-3 missile, and everyone was shocked. But the reality is that proves out the point that even though a missile can go Mach 10, Mach 7, but when it's coming down and it gets the deeper, the thicker atmosphere and starts doing S turns, it bleeds its energy away. So before it gets to its target, it's going, hypersonic, maybe close to supersonic speeds, and it's vulnerable. And so that is why in my book I talk particularly about, if you want to defeat hypersonic, the book that I wrote is called China Rising: The Case for Containment, by the way. But I talk about how if you want to defeat hypersonic missiles, just wait for them to get to the target, close to the target. It's the terminal phase of the hypersonic missile that is the most vulnerable. That's where you strike. And that's what we have developed with our friends in Australia. That's what we've developed with our friends, the Brits in the UK, is the ability to not only to develop the ability to launch hypersonic missiles, but also to defeat. And so what's happening now is, I believe that as we move forward towards the future, we're going to see where the vulnerabilities are most evident. As I just stated, the terminal phase, the last 25, 50 miles, that's a very good phase. Another phase where hypersonic missiles are vulnerable is in their mid-course phase, because you can track them and see them as they're in the mid-course phase. But then it's just the ability to intercept them in mid-course phase. And the easiest way after terminal velocity in mid-course is the launch sequence in the first 2 to 3 minutes of launch. It's the brightest. You can see it from a mile away, 10,000, thousands and thousands of feet away. I mean, you can see the bright, shining infrared object flying through space as it accelerates. And so, you could be 100, 200, 300 miles away, and you can see it because it's a candlelight flying through the air. And so that's when it's easy, if you can get a capability there to intercept it, it can be intercepted. But that phase is very short, because its boost phase is only for 2 to 3 minutes, and then it goes into the glide phase. So, so the ability to intercept hypersonic weapons, to send hypersonic missiles downrange, all of that works. All those capabilities comes from an incredible ability to work with your friends and allies to develop those capabilities. And if you don't have those friends and allies to do that, it makes it very difficult. And then we've been able to do that. Yes, we could do it on our own, but it's better to do it with your friends and allies, because it allows you to leverage your deterrent capability down the road. So hypersonics, that's the future. Hypersonics and strike, and hypersonics in defense. So let's look at counter hypersonics as it relates to hypersonic platforms. So when you fire air-to-air missile or surface-to-air missile, it goes in high-speed subsonic speeds. So 2,000 miles per hour, 2,500 miles per hour, and it caps out there. So that is right before you get into the hypersonic threshold. So when you're developing a counter hypersonic platform, that's going at a speed that's got to have to continually get updated information as it goes towards its target, because you're trying to intercept a hypersonic vehicle with another hypersonic vehicle, and that's like hitting a bullet with a bullet, and both of those bullets are going extremely high speeds. But having the capability to use counter hypersonic missiles, then that's also a game changer. We're probably about 5 years out from rolling a system like that out. I'm a proponent of using high energy lasers. I'm a proponent of using microwave. I'm a proponent of using, as I was stating earlier, terminal defense. All of those which are near term solutions on defeating hypersonic missiles. So those are the keys right now where we are. When you can fire a hypersonic missile from an airplane, you can fire it from a surface vessel, you can fire it from land, and you can fire it also from a submarine. And so when you have all those capabilities available to fire to launch hypersonic missiles, now they're not cheap. They cost money. I mean, you're looking at each let's look at a high speed long range precision fire missile. That's about $3 to $4 million. Okay, for the like the ATACMS, the long range precision fires missile is a replacement for that, and that speed is about Mach 3.5, and that platform by itself costs close to $3 million, $3 to $4 million. So that is a supersonic speed missile, but it still costs money. Well, hypersonic missile costs 2 to 3 times more. So you use hypersonic missiles on high value targets, command centers, major surface platforms like ships that are very integral, air bases. You use hypersonic missiles on platforms that cost a lot of money. You don't use hypersonic missiles on inexpensive or cheap platforms, because then you're like wasting your money. So it is the capability that you are delivering to the battle area that you're providing. And in being able to do that, what does it do? It provides deterrence. So your adversary or your potential adversary says, now if I do this, then they are going to do that. And so that's really what you want your possible adversary to think, is you want them to always remember, if I do this, what's going to happen to me? And so that's what we, the United States and our friends in the United Kingdom and also in Australia, is we're providing a deterrent capability by leveraging all of our platforms and systems to do that. And it's like a strength through defense kind of concept. And so that's really what you want to provide your adversary. And you also want interoperability with your hypersonic platforms, and you want the ability to fire one another's platform using one central command center. So if you are working with your friends and allies, you don't need to be able to go find a different type of authorization to go launch a missile. You need to have those preset, that the authorization is already there, that if we are in said situation, then I can fire your missiles and you can fire mine, as long as we understand that we're working together in a scenario, then those systems need to be, those systems are able to do that. And so those things, you don't just create that capability, that you work that out years and months ahead, as we're doing now. And so it's like a bullet, 7.62 millimeter bullet that goes into M16. And so NATO had a standard size that everybody's using, 7.62 millimeters. So it's not like there's something large or small. So all the rifles use the same 7.62 millimeter shell. Okay, and so the same with when you're firing missiles. If a frigate, let's say an Australian frigate, is working with us in the Indo-Pacific, let's say South China Sea, and we have to fire their missile from there, they should be able to link right in to our network, and we should be able to share missiles and share missile capability, because that one thing may save the fleet. Or aircraft carrier or whatever is deployed in that section if it's needed. So interoperability, research and development, hypersonics, counter hypersonics, all of these things we've worked together as a team, and we'll continue to do so. And that's what gets you to have a deterrent capability, a joint deterrent capability, which AUKUS provides for us. And so it's leveraging those capabilities so that you prevent yourself from going to war in the future. And that has been proven out in the hypersonic, counter hypersonic research that we've done with Australia for the last 2 decades. So, hey, we appreciate you taking the time today. We look forward to talking to you real soon. Have a great day.